I wanted to make a quick video for educators on the revolutionary, transformative new entry into the internet. The up until now, for the most part, there have been Google, Bing, or your search engine of choice, and you put your search terms in and you get a bunch of results. Some are relevant, some are not, and you have to parse through because it's basically just an index lookup. This is not that. ChatGPT is a natural language processing and the ability to interact by text but in a conversational way. So GPT, it stands for Generative Pre-trained Transformer. It's an artificial neural network, machine learning, and AI has been around, or neural networks, that subcategory of AI has been around for many decades, and more recently, the has been incredible at recognizing images and learning patterns and so forth. This takes it to the new level. This was trained on 175 billion pieces of data, and it can accept a wide range of inputs such that you could submit to it an entire paragraph. Let's go look at some things we can do here. I'm going to go to a new chat here, and I'm going to say, write an essay on the American Civil War. Yep, and it even caught my typo there. So it's going to generate this, and it kind of piecemeals it out at about this speed. And what's also neat is that I can ask some follow-up questions, and it already knows the context I'm talking about is the American Civil War. So it says, in the second paragraph, this win the southern states. So I'll ask it as if I were a student, what southern states when this finishes. I find it quite amazing at the quality of the output and scope of it that's being prepared. So, and it continues. So then if I said, what states, let's see what I get from that. And it's going to go ahead and go out. And you can go on and continue ad nauseum about this. And the data set that this was trained on stopped in 2021. So it's important to note that ChatGPT is not connected to the internet in terms of you can't say, ask a question based on things that happened in real time, something that happened last week. The data was trained at that point, and it doesn't go out and search for newer things than what it's already been trained on. Somewhat of a limitation. Let's go look at the playground. This is kind of I should say it this way. There are examples, and you can go in and try these out. Interview questions, create study notes is kind of an interesting one. What are the 5 key points that you know about ancient Rome? And you can go on and on about that. It'll also generate the Python code, or if you want some other language, you can pick other things too. For this, if you want to use it in a programming way. If you open the playground, once you get into the playground, you can kind of do what you want. And you can generate this. Look at the playground I've got over here. So I said, write a Python script that will allow a user to input, numbers, and until I put a control C to indicate that I'm done entering new numbers. But it doesn't say how many, so I can be flexible about that. Then go ahead and save that data to a text file. Then go ahead and calculate and display the sum and average of those values. So I say submit, and it generates the Python code. Now, depending on your example, it may not generate what you're truly after, or it may be a little bit more literal than you want with your instructions. So you get this code, and I'm going to go ahead and copy this out. I'm going to copy that out, and I paste it into a notepad document. And I'm going to save it as OpenAI example1.py, and here's the code. So I save that, and then I go and I bring up a command prompt, and I'm going to say Python OpenAI tab for autocomplete and run it. It says enter a number: 16, 20, 32, 5, 6, 19, 100, and then I'll do a Control C to stop it. It says the sum of those inputs 198, and there's the average. And then if I do a dir, I see that I've got the user inputs.txt. Let me pop over here for a second, and we see that this is the file, is that it gave it an automatic file name, user input.txt. So that's where that came from. And if I go ahead and say notepad user inputs.txt, those are the values that I put in. It did that in the time it took me to type that out. Kind of amazing. There are some other challenges with some of the code that it generates, so there's some various complexity. One of the things as an educator you might look at is the syntax, not syntax, but are the functions that it uses, advanced or appropriate? Some of the solutions I've experimented with have come up and shown things that are very advanced features that a novice programming student wouldn't know about. Let's continue on. One of the things it talks about is, that it has in the examples, we go back here, at the top is the grammar fixing. And summarized to a second grader is kind of a neat thing, but it can do a lot more. So here's an article that talks about you could use, instead of Grammarly to fix grammar and such, which can be a little pricey, you could use this far cheaper or free. You can also tell it to change the audience. So you could say add sarcasm or humor or whatever, and it would rephrase your text in that way. A good question to ask would be, who owns what's generated from this? So the Supreme Court just took this up, and it ends up and this was from OpenAI. What is their deal? Basically, they give you a unlimited license to use the output. Now, if you put in, they're looking at what you're putting in because their models are learning from it. So if there's something of value, you're kind of committing that to the bigger picture, if you will. But can you use this commercially? Can you use this in a commercial solution? Whatever? Yes, you have the licenses for that. So this article talks about that and so forth. And then there's another one that talks about this AI generated works, and this is a landmark decision by the Copyright Office. Refused to register an AI generated algorithm, and this is again transformational in terms of how it impacts the ability of AI to use or even protect what you've created with an AI product. This is an interesting website, talks about now how do we deal with potentially students who, instead of using this as a useful side tool to help them, are using it to avoid doing the work and basically cheating. So there's a next generation of plagiarism checkers that will look for this. Many of the ones out there are more limited in that the plagiarism checkers will take a corpus of what you submit to it. So if you had 20 students and you put 20 students' papers in there, it would look across there for plagiarism, but it wouldn't check the web. That kind of problem. This is much broader than that. There's some interesting and amazing tools out there, these AI presentation tools for PowerPoint and such. The beautiful.ai, designs.ai, and so forth. There are other products out there, Dolly, D-A-L-L-E, which can do just incredible things with photographs, things that would have been not possible to do in any easy sense or any timely manner. So these are the new opportunities we have. And now the question is, how do we help students use them for good and avoid or help students not use them to circumvent, their learning opportunities?